Chapter 9. Mr. Fox has a plan. For 3 days and 3 nights this waiting game went on. How much longer can a fox go without food or water? Boggis asked on the 3rd day. Not much longer now, Bean told him. He'll have to make a run for it soon. He'll have to. Bean was right. Down in the tunnel, the foxes were slowly but surely starving to death. If only we could save just a tiny sip of water, said one of the small foxes. Oh, Dad, can you do something? Could we make a dash for it, Dad? We have a little bit of a chance, wouldn't we? No chance at all, snapped Mrs. Fox. I refuse to let you go up there and face those guns. I'd sooner stay down here and die in peace. Mr. Fox had not spoken for a long time. He had been sitting quite still, his eyes closed, not even hearing what the others were saying. Mrs. Fox knew that he was trying desperately to think of a way out. And now, as she looked at him, she saw him stir himself, get slowly to his feet. He looked back at his wife. There was a little sparkle of excitement in his eyes. What is it, darling? Said Mrs. Fox quickly. I just had a bit of an idea, Mr. Fox said carefully. What? They cried. Oh, Dad, what is it? Come on, said Mrs. Fox. Tell us quickly. Well, said Mr. Fox, and he stopped and sighed and sadly shook his head. He sat down again. It's no good. It won't work after all. Why not, Dad? Because it means more digging, and we aren't any of us strong enough for that after 3 days and nights without food. Yes, we are, Dad. Yes, we are, cried the small foxes, jumping up and down and running to their father. We can do it. You see if we can't. So can you? Mr. Fox looked at the 4 small foxes and he smiled. What fine children I have, he thought. They're starving to death. They haven't had a drink for 3 days, but they are still undefeated. I must not let them down. I suppose we could give it a try, he said. Let's go, Dad. Tell us what you want us to do. Slowly, Mrs. Fox got to her feet. She was suffering more than any of them from the lack of food and water. She was very weak. I'm so sorry, she said, but I don't think I'm going to be much help. You stay right where you are, my darling, said Mr. Fox. We can handle this by ourselves. Chapter 10. Boggis Chicken House number 1. This time we must go in a very special direction, said Mr. Fox, pointing sideways and downward. So he and his 4 children started to dig once again. The work went much more slowly now, yet they kept at it with great courage, and little by little the tunnel began to grow. Dad, I wish you could tell us where we're going, said one of the children. And here they are, digging the hole. I dare not do that, said Mr. Fox, because this place I'm hoping to get to is so marvellous that if I describe it to you now, you would go crazy with excitement. And then, if we fail to get there, which is very possible, you would die of disappointment. I don't want to raise your hopes too much, my darlings. For a long time they kept digging and digging. For how long they did not know, because there was no days and no nights down in the murky tunnel. But at last Mr. Fox gave the order to stop. I think, he said, I think we had better take a peep upstairs now and see where we are. I know where I want to be, but I can't possibly be sure where we're anywhere near it. Slowly and wearily, the fox began to slope up the tunnel and towards the surface. Up and up it went, until suddenly there came to something hard above their heads. They couldn't go up any further. Mr. Fox reached up to examine this hard thing. "It's wood," he whispered. "Wooden planks." "What does that mean, Dad?" "It means, unless I'm very much mistaken, we are right underneath somebody's house," whispered Mr. Fox. "Be very quiet now while I take a peek." Carefully, Mr. Fox began pushing up one of the floorboards. The floorboards creaked most terribly, and they all ducked down, waiting for something awful to happen. Nothing did. So Mr. Fox pushed up a second board, and then, very cautiously, he poked his head up through the gap. He let out a shriek of excitement. "I've done it!" he yelled. "I've done it first time! I've done it, I've done it, I've done it!" He pulled himself up through the gap in the floor and started prancing and dancing with joy. "Come on up!" he sang out. "Come on up and see where you are, my darlings. What a sight for a hungry fox! Hallelujah! Hooray! Hooray!" The four small foxes scrambled up out of the tunnel, and what a fantastic sight it was now met their eyes. They were in a huge shed, and the whole place was teeming with chickens. There were white chickens and brown chickens and black chickens by 1,000. "Buck's Chicken House #1, Mr. Fox cried. It's exactly what I was aiming at. I hit it slap in the middle first time. Isn't that fantastic? And if I may so, rather clever." The small foxes went wild with excitement. They started running around in all directions, chasing the stupid chickens. "Wait," ordered Mr. Fox. "Don't lose your heads. Stand back. Calm down. Let's do this properly. First of all, everyone have a drink of water." They all ran over to the chicken's drinking trough and lapped up the lovely cool water. Then Mr. Fox chose 3 of the plumpest hens, and with a clever flick of his jaws, he killed them instantly. "Back to the tunnel," he ordered. "Come on. No fooling around. The quicker you move, the quicker we shall have something to eat." One after another, they climbed down the hole in the floor, and soon they were all standing once again in the dark tunnel. Mr. Fox reached up and pulled the floorboards back into place. He did this with great care. He did it so no one could tell they had ever even been moved. "My son," he said, giving the plump hens to the biggest of his 4 children, "run back with these to your mother. Tell her to prepare a feast. Tell her the rest of us will be along in a jiffy as soon as I've made a few other little arrangements."